Hello everyone, I'm Roop Kaistha. I'm the Regional Director for Talent Innovation Center at Randstad Sourceright, and I'm joined by my colleague and our sourcing intelligence business partner, Carolyn Wass. Carolyn will be taking us through what Google for Jobs means for all of us, how it is changing the way candidates look for jobs, and also how companies can take advantage of this platform in disrupting the way they reach out to the right candidates. Just a very, very brief introduction about Randstad Sourceright. For those of you who may not be familiar with Randstad Sourceright, we are a part of the world's #1 HR services provider, Randstad. We are the outsourcing arm of Randstad, and we run typically outsourced programs both in the permanent, contingent, and integrated space for our clients. Randstad Sourceright has been widely recognized across the industry to be a thought leader and also an RPO and MSP leader across marketplaces, including Asia Pacific, of course, North America, and EMEA. We currently run about 600 plus services programs across the world, and we work with some of the clients that you see on the screen, and really work with them to define what their talent acquisition strategy means for getting the best talent, and also defining how they should be planning for new technology and coming into the HR tech and talent acquisition space. So today we will really be talking about Google for Jobs, and I'm going to hand over to my colleague, Carolyn Wass. She works as our recruitment business partner within the sourcing space in our Australian business, but really Carolyn and I work very, very closely to look at what best tools work from a sourcing perspective, both for Randstad Sourceright internally, as well as looking at that from a client perspective. So handing over to you, Kaz.
Great. Thank you, Ruth. Thank you, everyone, for joining. My name is Carolyn Wass, as Ruth mentioned, from our Australian business. Before I start getting into the very heavy details of what Google for Jobs is, I would like to share why I care so much about Google for Jobs, so much that I have researched and followed Google for Jobs since its launch in the US in June 2017. Randstad had very recently acquired Monster at that point in time, and so we had front row seats to the launch in the US. And two things happened. One, because no one actually knew what the impact of Google for Jobs was going to be, although we thought we were ready for it, our holdings office did see quite a big drop in their organic traffic, not nearly as much as other job boards and agencies within the industry, but the impact was significant. But more importantly, what we saw were unprecedented conversion rates from the traffic from Google for Jobs. So following that launch in June 2017, we heard through the grapevine that Google for Jobs would launch in Australia in Q1 2018. So I set about making sure that we were prepared and ready. At the time, I thought we would have been. However, in hindsight, I realized we were far from prepared. The thing that caught my attention for Google for Jobs is that it's all about SEO, it is all about keywords, and it is standardizing our job advertisements across the industry globally, which is huge. Up until that point in time, I had been running a lot of experiments and doing a lot of work in how we can better our job advertising, looking at job titles, looking at using marketing principles in the content of our job ads. So Google for Jobs really plays into that nicely. And the conversion rates, as I mentioned, are unprecedented. So that's why I've invested a lot of time in understanding what Google for Jobs is. So, Roop, I don't have access to change the slides at the moment. Oh, there we go. So by the end of this presentation, you will know what Google for Jobs is. We will go through where it is currently live. We'll talk about why it has been launched. I will show what it looks like, and that's especially important for the regions where it isn't live yet. We'll look at what the impacts are. I will take you through how you get onto Google for Jobs. We will look at how you optimize your job listings, and then you've probably already gauged, I think Google for Jobs is a good thing, but very happy for anyone to have other thoughts. Looking at these sections, these are the two key sections that I think are most important. Firstly, how do you get onto Google for Jobs? The reason I think this is important is because in our industry, this is where most people are going to stop. Most people are going to set up their websites and set up their jobs to get onto Google for Jobs, and that will be the end of the story. However, it's not. What's most important is going to be how to optimize your job postings. So you have optimized your job postings to get onto Google for Jobs and have a high ranking. You also have another side, how to optimize your job postings so that candidates click and apply to your jobs. What you're going to see through this presentation is that Google for Jobs is standardizing on a global scale what our job ads will look like, which means that the only thing that we have to influence our candidates to apply is the content. And there is a lot that we can do, and there is a lot that we can change. Google for Jobs is forcing the recruitment industry to innovate and to change. And it's my opinion that we were very long overdue for this. So before I get into the impacts of Google for Jobs, it is important to note where Google for Jobs sits in the landscape of HR tech. We had some really big moves last year. LinkedIn launched Insights, which makes a lot of sense considering the data that they have. Another big move has been Facebook Jobs. Makes a lot of sense. Facebook has a much greater user base than LinkedIn. LinkedIn has a limitation in that it does not necessarily appeal to blue-collar workers. Facebook appeals to across all industries. We've got Uber testing on-demand staffing. They're trying to get a piece of the recruitment pie as well. Microsoft has been making some very big acquisitions, as has Recruit Holdings acquiring Glassdoor. They also have acquired Indeed. Most of these have made it to the headlines. They have been big news items. Probably another one that we could fit on there as well would be Randstad's acquisition of Monster. Randstad, being one of the largest recruitment agencies, acquired one of the largest job boards. And then we have Google for Jobs. When I survey most of our clients, that until they receive an invite for us to these presentations, they haven't heard of it. Google for Jobs, Google hasn't made any really big announcements, and they have not set timelines or any expectations for when they will launch in each region. They are just appearing. So this section, why you should care and will this impact you? This is really important because when we talk about Google for Jobs, the assumption is that we're talking about a change of behaviour for our candidates, but Google for Jobs is not. Google for Jobs is a change of behaviour for HR practitioners and the recruitment industry as a whole. Candidates already use Google as their first point when they start their job research, whether this be looking for salary information, looking for guidance on where their career could move next. All these searches start on Google. So what you can see on the screen at the moment, we've got 124 million monthly job-related searches on Google, and then that has been broken down into categories: sales jobs, customer service jobs, etc. This data has been pulled from AdWords, which is a Google tool, and anyone has access to this. If you're wanting to see what the volume of searches for your jobs within your industry, you can access this tool. It is a huge volume. This is significant for a lot of companies. For Randstad, over 40% of our candidate leads come from Google, so understanding how much of that search initiates on Google is critical. Now, I'd also like to draw your attention to the quote at the top. So this quote is from research in the UK, and in this presentation I've drawn on quite a lot of the statistics from the UK for a very solid reason. Google for Jobs launched in the US. By the time it launched in the UK should have been ready and prepared. This quote shows that data shows that career sites optimized for Google for Jobs have gained 20% more organic traffic, whereas those that aren't have lost up to 40%. So anyone in the UK, when Google for Jobs launched, that was aware and made the changes, did see an increase in organic traffic. That 40% of traffic that was lost by companies that were not prepared, I can guarantee they're probably scratching their heads wondering where that traffic has gone, why it has happened. That offers opportunity for everyone that is prepared. It also shows the way that Google for Jobs is being launched very quietly, and companies are generally not prepared for it. The biggest standout for me, and why I am making sure that our clients are prepared for Google for Jobs, it's because of the conversion rates. So what we see is that if we post an ad on one of our major platforms, we get a conversion rate of around 9%. So the conversion rate is views to applications. From Google organic search results, we get on average between 2 to 4% conversion rates. We have been able to monitor the impact of Google for Jobs across all of our regions, and we have seen conversion rates from Google for Jobs up to 31%. We're currently averaging at 29% across all our regions. We don't have another source that brings this level of conversion rates. So that statistic in itself should be enough for everyone to be very concerned if they're not on Google for Jobs and are not set up to make the most of Google for Jobs. It is bringing, not necessarily, we're not looking at quantity, but we're looking at quality candidates, and it is significant for us. Is it flying under the radar? So of 1 million, so again, this is the UK, of 1 million job posts, less than 20% of the jobs on Google for Jobs currently come from companies directly. So you could read a lot into this quote. The fact that less than 20% of the jobs currently come from companies tells me that companies either don't have the resources to get their jobs onto Google for Jobs, or they're not aware of it. I can understand a company not having the resources. Randstad, it's all we do. All we care about is making sure that our jobs are found. Well, it's not all we care about, but it's our core business. Where other businesses, it's not necessarily their core business, and it's not necessarily where their resources are being put. Then we have the next quote. In the UK, less than half of recruitment websites had implemented the schema. It is their core business, yet less than half had implemented the changes. A few reasons: many are not aware of Google for Jobs, most don't have the resources behind them to realize what the impact is of Google for Jobs. So is it flying under the radar? Yes. Does this offer a lot of opportunity for us? It absolutely does. So this is where we're going to start getting into some of the technical parts of what Google for Jobs is, how you get onto Google for Jobs, and what it looks like. So Google for Jobs is not another job board. Google for Jobs is a search feature within Google Search. Google have partnered with the major job boards globally, and they have provided open documentation. What that means is they have provided the information to be listed in the Google for Jobs feature to everybody, which means recruitment agencies and companies have the same opportunity to set up their processes and take advantage of Google for Jobs. This makes it a level playing field. It means a company has the same opportunity to have their jobs that are listed on their careers page be found by a candidate as someone who is investing money in a large job board. So it is a new search feature found on the Google search page. It's a search tool. Google have partnered with all of the major job boards. The open documentation is available for everyone, and I'm going to show exactly what that is. It allows job search with a single Google search. One of the reasons we're having such good conversion rates is because of Google's machine learning capabilities that power the smarter job search. It is able to match characteristics of what about the person that is searching with jobs. Their algorithms ensure that job seekers are seeing information on commute times and employer reviews and even estimate salary for that type of role. So if someone is looking for a job, this search gets triggered with any search that is related to careers or job search, whether they're looking for salary information or information on a career path. It will trigger this search, which speeds up the steps that someone who is quite passive and looking for a job of when they actually start to see jobs. So traditionally, we only get the active job seeker going to a job board. Potentially with Google for Jobs, we're getting a passive and an active market seeing our jobs at an earlier stage in their job search. And this is really important. And we're also seeing jobs that are aligned with that person, with their characteristics, with the information that Google knows about them. So why has Google for Jobs been launched? Currently, and they've done this in other industries, they have done this in the travel industry and also in the shopping industry. They want to keep traffic on their website. In Australia, a lot of people, when looking for a job, use their mobile and they'll download an app for the key job boards. Seek, LinkedIn. Other key job boards have apps as well, JobStreet as well in most regions. And Google is trying to change this behaviour. They don't want a candidate to have to go to different job boards to find a job. They want them to be able to go to one place and see the jobs that are relevant to what they do. And this ties in with they're wanting to make a better experience for candidates. And our industry has desperately, desperately needed this. So Google for Jobs launched in the US. Google is essentially a US company. When they were looking to, and I can't speak for Google, but from what I've researched, one of the things when they were setting up for Google for Jobs is they were looking into what candidates want and what they're currently being provided with. One standout feature is that the majority of candidates want to see salary information when they are looking at a job. What they found was only a very small percentage of employers and job postings actually showed what that salary was. So Google for Jobs is forcing our hand. They are telling us that if we want to rank well, amongst other criteria, we need to provide the salary when we post our job. They are also going to pull data from places such as Glassdoor, PayScale, and other parties within other regions to give an estimate of the salary. So they are forcing our hands to provide the information that our candidates want in a globally standard way, and that is very, very significant. So a quote from Google: Google brings together job postings from across the web, whether they're on websites run by small businesses or job sites with thousands of listings. This helps job seekers easily find their next job directly in search. So we already know that our candidates are starting their job search on Google, but they haven't been getting the information that they need. And so Google for Jobs is providing this to them. Next, we'll look at where is Google for Jobs live and where is it going to launch next. Now, I mentioned at the beginning of this that after we saw it launch in the US, we expected Google for Jobs to launch in Q1 2018, and we were set up and ready to go with our clients and within our core business here in Australia. Since then, around the globe, I have watched Google for Jobs launch everywhere around me. It's almost like Google for Jobs or Google is trying to tease me because I'm really excited for the launch in my region. So June, down the bottom you can see the dates of launch, and you've got it started in June in the US. Then we've got a launch in January, February, March, April, May. These have been regular launches around the globe. The areas in red is where it has been launched. The areas in yellow is where we are seeing testing. So where we see testing is an indicator of where it will launch next. Of important note is because we saw testing in Australia, we assumed we would be next, but unexpectedly it was launched in Singapore. Fortunately, our teams in Singapore were prepared for this. But what this tells us, it's really, really important to be prepared because we don't know when Google for Jobs is going to launch. We're just going to wake up in our region and it will be there. And for everyone that is listening today where Google for Jobs has launched, I'd be really keen to hear or know, perhaps following on the chat after this, of what awareness you had when it did launch and how much you knew about it before it did launch. Because what I'm reading is that it's just not making big waves. It is very much flying under the radar. So what does it look like? So this is especially important for regions where Google for Jobs has not launched yet. If you are in a region where Google for Jobs has not launched yet, you can change your region settings on your computer to an area where it has launched to get a visual on what it does look like. And I will also show you a link a bit further on in this presentation that you can actually test your jobs and get a preview of what they're going to look like. So what we're looking at on the screen at the moment is where we currently get clicks on the Google search screen. So we get 15 to 25% of our clicks in the paid advertising, and we get 75 to 85% of our clicks in the organic results, so the purple area. It is traditionally what we have spent a lot of our resources on, is those organic results. That is free traffic to our website. It is where we have always wanted to be positioned because it's following user behavior. It's where they click in the results mostly. When Google for Jobs launches, the feature sits just below the AdWords, which has the impact of pushing the organic results down the page. So we've gone from users clicking those organic results to users not potentially even seeing those organic results. What they're seeing is that Google for Jobs feature. This is a close-up of what the feature looks like. It's a very simple, clear view. Job titles are industry standard, very simple. We need to move away from adding any symbols into the job titles or any additional information. Google no longer wants us to put immediately available, looking for, salaries or location in that job title. It will impact on your ranking. So we have job title, company who the job is with, location, the source where that job has been found. The date, freshness, is always very important on Google for Jobs, and whether the job is full-time, part-time, etc. And then there are already filters at this stage across the top where the user can filter by different job titles and make that search quite specific to themselves. There is also an option here to sign in and save jobs. So currently we have a situation where a job seeker may need to go to multiple job boards in their job search, and they may save their details on one or two platforms. Now, or they can see all the jobs from all the job boards, all the company websites in one place, and they can sign in and they can save those jobs. It is all about the candidate experience. When you click in and open a job on Google for Jobs, being a Google product, they have stuck very much so to their format, and it is a Gmail looking format. So on the side, they still have links to the original jobs that appeared in the Google search, and then on the right, you have the job laid out. Across the top, even more filters. So there is so much opportunity for our candidates to make sure that they find the job that suits them. They can search with title, location, date posted, type, company type, employer, and then we have further keyword searches on the job titles. With this screen, there's still an option where they need to click Read More. So part of this means that we need to really make the engaging content at the top of our ad. We need to bring it to the forefront. We need to make this ad interesting for the person to read. So I've mentioned already that Google for Jobs is bringing a standardization to our industry. All of our jobs globally are going to look exactly the same on Google for Jobs. So we need to do two things. One, it brings our employer branding to the forefront. How do we get our employer branding and sell our story to potential candidates before they start the job search, so when they see our ad, they're interested? How do we sell our employer branding, our story, in the content of that ad? Because that's going to make someone or influence a reader to choose our ad over someone else's when the ads all look exactly the same and have the same standard information provided. This is the mobile view. We know that most candidates, and this is very much so globally, it's universal, are increasingly using their mobiles for their job search. So we have paid ads at the top, then the Google search feature appears, pushing organic results out of view on most mobile screens. This is going to have a huge impact once again on the organic results, and again it speeds up the job search and it provides very, very targeted results. So I mentioned earlier that Google was looking to provide an excellent candidate experience and to make sure that candidates start to get the information in a job ad that they want and need to make a decision. What you can see on this screen here is an example of where Google for Jobs is providing an estimate of salary, so typical pay for this type of work. This is really important. It can mean two things. One, if the salary the estimate is being put against your job doesn't match what you are paying, then you need to revisit your ad. Are you using the right job titles? Have you got the right keywords? Because it suggests that you're going to attract a candidate at the wrong level, or perhaps you need to have another look and review of the salaries that you're paying if you are comparing them across the market and you want to be competitive. But that's going to come down to a very individual for every company, every business, every industry, but it is something to be very, very aware of. Another standout is the reviews. So digital footprint, what people are saying about your brand, what your employers who are your biggest advocates are saying about you online is now going to be available right next to your job ads. So rather than doing a job search, seeing an ad and thinking, that looks good, I'll apply, they're actually going to have reviews right there in front of them. And it is going to impact on their decision of whether or not they apply for your ad. So we need to start talking to our digital teams, our marketing teams, about what we can do to make sure that our reviews are strong and selling our business values and the message that we need them to be selling. So what do we know? A quick summary of the content so far. We know that we need to be prepared. Google for Jobs has launched in regions that we have not expected them to launch in next. Impact starts about 1 month after launch in each region, and this is drawing on the research that our global digital teams have been able to bring together. So the impact is quite quick. So if you are ready and prepared, set up, and already writing your ads to optimize Google for Jobs, you're going to see the benefits very, very quickly. Quality conversion rates across all regions, unprecedented, 29% conversion rates on average. To be awarded higher rankings, the quality and content of your ads needs to be optimized. And the required fields to the job posting schema markup will ensure your jobs are indexed. And I'm going to go through what that last point means shortly. But essentially, it's a role for your IT departments to play to set up the framework for you. And then the next part of this is for your teams that are writing your job ads to make sure that they are filling out the information correctly. They are not leaving fields blank and they are not taking shortcuts because it will impact on your ranking on Google for Jobs. So how do you get your jobs onto Google for Jobs? So this is very much the technical part that I will cover enough information for you to start to have these conversations internally with your IT teams. So Google for Jobs has partnered with the major job boards. So those jobs will be indexed and from the job boards will appear on Google for Jobs. If you want jobs to be ranked and listed from your career site, then you need to make sure that Google can find those jobs and find the information that they are saying that we must provide. And they have provided very clear guidelines. It's called the Google Schema Markup Guide, and it gives step-by-step instructions on how to do it. So bear with me and I'll go to a live view. This is what the schema looks like. And at the top, it very clearly outlines its goals. You can improve the job seeking experience by adding a job posting structured data to your job posting web pages. Adding structured data makes your job postings eligible to appear in a special user experience in Google search results. So this is the open documentation that everyone has access to, which means everyone has the same potential to have their jobs appear on Google for Jobs. Provide an example of what it looks like. And as we go down, you'll see that they provide quite clear criteria. Here we are of the fields and properties that must be filled in. Date posted, because freshness is really important. They want to show current jobs. The description, hiring organisation, and then they're wanting to know location. So not just a region. They want to know street numbers, street names. They want to know area codes as well. All of the detailed information has to be added to the job ad. Following the presentation, we can share with you that link so that you can go through that in more detail. But what we need to take away from it is that there are clear fields that must be entered. There is a clear format that it must be provided in. A lot of company website careers pages list their careers page on their site maps, but many do not include their actual job pages. So this is something that will need to be changed, and Google bots will need access to your site in order to index it. In the UK, less than half of recruitment websites had implemented this schema. I encourage you to start making this a priority for your business. Sorry, my screen had frozen then. It is finally caught up. So this is a tool that you can use to see what your jobs look like. So if you're in a region where Google for Jobs has launched already, you can search your jobs. But before you list a job, or if you want to see what it will look like if it's not appearing in the feature, you can use this tool. If you're in a region such as mine, you can add in the URL for your job posting, and it will show you what your job is going to look like, and it will show you if there are any errors as well. So again, I'm just going to jump to a live view to show you how this works and how to see what needs to be done if any changes need to be made. So this is what the testing tool looks like. You need to go to a job posting, copy the URL, and you simply paste it in here and run the test. So this is going to have a look and see whether Google can index pages and whether the schema has been applied. What we're coming up with is nothing has been detected, and I wanted to give this for a very good reason. It's important to be aware that if you run this tool, nothing comes up on this right-hand side. It means that this page is not being indexed and the jobs on this site will not be shown. I will give you another demonstration of a job that has been set up to be found by Google for Jobs within a region where Google for Jobs has not actually launched yet. So on the right-hand side, where we have job posting, we can see that one warning has come up. If I click on this, you will see the back end of the schema that has been provided by Google that has been filled in by the recruitment site. If you scroll down, you will be able to see what this warning message relates to. In this case, it is because the salary information has not been provided. That will result in a lower ranking on Google for Jobs. From this, you can also preview your job and see what it's going to look like. Very simple view, job title, company, location, and freshness. If you click to open it, you can see what is going to be shown at the top of the ad. I mentioned this earlier. This content needs to be engaging because it needs to make the person want to actually click to read more. That's very, very important. This is a screenshot of what it looks like because I wanted to show the geolocation. On the right-hand side under this demonstration ad, you can see the map. This is where Google is going to show commute times. And this is going to be really important for targeting candidates within a particular area. And it's important to note, it's why it's important to put in the right address. So that's the first part where most people are going to stop. They're going to get their systems set up and their processes set up for Google for Jobs, and they're going to get their jobs on there. But are they going to get the conversion rates? Are they going to get the click-throughs? It's going to depend on a number of things. Employer branding. Randstad produce employer branding research annually that tells us exactly what our candidates want. We need to know what this is for our industry and for our market, and we need to make sure that we start addressing this in our employer branding, in what people hear about our businesses before they look for a job, in how we sell our job within a job ad. You can influence your ranking by filling in the schema, by using the right keywords, and then you can influence it by using the right content and making it engaging. So each of the elements on the screen I'm going to go through in more detail now because these are all extremely important. These are minimum fields that you must complete to rank on Google for Jobs. If you don't fill in these fields, other jobs are going to be shown ahead of yours. I've already mentioned the location. Google is forcing us to provide where these jobs are based. I've mentioned salary. Candidates want this. Google are forcing it. So globally, everyone is going to have to start providing this same information. I personally, as I've mentioned, think that this is what our industry has needed. We need to start giving our candidates what they want in the job search or what they need to make a decision. Job titles, this is really, really important. Across the globe, so many people get this wrong, and this ties in with a lot of research that we started or I started 2 years ago on understanding how job boards rank keywords and where they look for those keywords, so their algorithms, but also understanding our candidates. What keywords are our candidates searching for? So an example is a job for a police controller. Now, a police controller with one of our clients is a job, obviously working with the police force, but it is a call center customer service job. If we post our jobs on Google for Jobs for police controller, the only person that is going to find that job is someone that is already aware that these jobs exist. So we need to think about what will our person search for. Are they going to search for a contact center or a call center or a customer service job? And that is the title that we need to start calling our jobs. Google for Jobs is pushing the standardization a bit further. They want the job titles without any jargon. They do not want you to write multiple job opportunities, apply now, accounting job, accounting job, location, salary, none of that information can go in the job title anymore. And we saw that in the examples that I showed of what the Google for Jobs screen looks like. Really clear, simple, industry standard job titles. They're also telling us not to use special characters. We need to keep it very clear and very simple. And this means that they can make sure that the right candidates see our jobs. So the first step to be successful with your job advertisement is to be found. To be found, you need to know the keywords that your candidate is using to search. Step 2 is optimizing SEO, search engine optimization. Breaking that down, it means the keywords. So in the content of your ad, you need to use the keywords that your candidate is going to look for. So the keywords when they do the initial search for the job title, and then in the Google screens that we looked at earlier in the screenshots, there are other filters for other terms. These need to be in the content of your job ad. Google is looking for about a 2 to 5% keyword density. So although it is tempting, you cannot write a big block paragraph of just keywords or the same keyword written again and again and again, because this isn't quality. It's not what Google wants us to do, and it will impact on your ranking. So keep it to a 2 to 5% density. Another change is we've been looking at shortening our ads because our readers are looking at them on a mobile. Google wants us to have a minimum of 500 words because they want quality content in there. A takeaway from this is if your reader is looking at your ad on a mobile, how far down are they going to scroll? So the important information needs to be at the top of the ad, at the beginning. What is going to influence them to keep reading? Next is we need original content. So bringing it back, that Google for Jobs is all about the candidate experience. When someone sees the feature appear in Google search, they're not going to see the same job 3 times listed from 3 different sources. They're only going to see one version of it. So we need to have unique versions and original content to make the most of the Google for Jobs feature. Another thought and something to consider as well is if you have a job that you recruit on a very regular basis, every week, every month, over and over, and you never change the content of that ad, is Google for Jobs going to keep showing that job to the same people? They're not. If your job is coming up to someone that Google thinks it may be of interest to, and they've seen it, they've clicked on it, or potentially they've ignored it, Google's not going to keep showing them that ad every month. They're going to move on and really try to tailor the experience for the candidate. So we really need to start experimenting with different content and having a look to see how Google for Jobs shows that content and how often they will continue to show that to our users. This is the most critical part. This is all about employer branding, which I've already touched on a few times. It brings it to the forefront of your job ad writing. We still very often write ads that are just a list of tasks. Must have this, must have that. When Google for Jobs standardizes what our ads must look like, we need to make sure that our ads stand out. Really, this is something we should already be doing. We need to sell the opportunity. So if you are working with a recruitment partner, you need to invite them into your business and allow them to understand your culture, your values, your employer brand, so that they can craft a job ad that sells this for you. You can only attract the best candidates by talking about what is real, what are real benefits of this job. And an example of this is very much in job ads. We see sentences such as, We offer a competitive salary and we offer career development. It doesn't really mean anything. They are just words. So Google for Jobs is forcing us our hand on the salary. We have to reveal what it is, or they're going to put an estimate in. When it comes to talking about things like career progression, we need to start making that very real. And this is using marketing principles. You need to allow people to visualize it and build a story. So instead of saying career progression, we need to start crafting ads that say things like, you will be reporting to a manager who has been with our business for 10 years. They started in a graduate position and have progressed into this role. They'll be positioned to offer you a similar career path if that is what you are looking for. Now, obviously, it has to be the truth and a real story, but wherever you can put anything real in to actually make the benefits of this role real, then I encourage you to do so. It could simply be about talking about a location. Instead of talking about you're in a city centre, talk about a main train station or a main building that people will know and be able to relate to. Make it real. We've been doing a lot of work across our business with the small changes that we can make in a job ad that can have a huge impact and can influence candidate behaviour. We've looked at diversity in our job ads, and one of those or two areas of diversity we've looked at is the terminology that we use. Some terminology can be considered masculine, some terminology can be considered feminine, and these may influence and impact on how someone perceives your ad. So we use tools to make sure that we're using a gender-neutral terminology in our ads. One of the leading job boards in our market in Australia came out with some research that told us that putting in more than 6 requirements in a job ad results in a reduction in applications, mostly results in applications from females. So it's just a really good example of the small things that we need to start changing and that we can start changing in our ads. We need to start experimenting and see what the impact of each small change has. And we need to move away from writing job ads that are a list of must-haves to writing a job ad that is a marketing document, a sales document, a document that can tell your story, a document that can bring your job to life so that candidates want to apply for it and they want to come and work for you. This is one of my favorite topics, whether Google for Jobs is going to be the end of traditional job boards. And probably because I've been in the industry for such a long time, I have seen this conversation come up about similar topics. When LinkedIn first started being used, I was a big user and I was in agency recruitment at the time. And everyone was saying that with LinkedIn, the databases that recruitment agencies used to sell as their reason for companies to need to use them was now available to everyone. LinkedIn was a universally available database of potential candidates' names. And there was blog post after blog post at the time saying that LinkedIn was going to be the end of agency recruiters. That hasn't happened. Agency recruiters have embraced LinkedIn, and many wouldn't know how to do their jobs without it. I think that that is a really powerful example because with Google for Jobs, all the major job boards have partnered with Google for Jobs. They are on board. They are completing the schema that is required. They are in partnership. For now, they're here to stay. They're not backing away. They're embracing this change. I may have a different story in 5 years' time, but I think for now we just need to keep an eye on job boards and see how they innovate, see if they do make changes to their core business, see if they make changes to how powerful they may be in getting your listings into the Google for Jobs feature. So From today's session, there are some very clear takeaways. If you want your career site to have your jobs listed on the Google for Jobs feature, and we know from research that the vast majority of career sites are not landing themselves there, you need to set up the schema and you need to adhere to the standardized job information that Google for Jobs is telling us we need to provide. Something that I also forgot to mention is Google prioritizes listings from websites that are mobile responsive. So if your career site is not mobile responsive, you're not going to be ranked well on Google for Jobs. It's going to have a big impact. Google for Jobs is forcing us to innovate our content. How will you influence your candidates to apply for your job? With a standardized format, how are you going to make your job stand out? Employer branding comes to the very front. How can you and on what platforms get your employer brand out to the market before a candidate starts the job search? How can you sell your employer brand in the content of your job ad? You need to make sure that you are working with a recruitment partner that understands Google for Jobs, understands how a job advert needs to be optimized to rank well, and what that content needs to be engaging. We know that Google for Jobs brings high conversion rates. So this is going to become an absolute game changer for us in the market. I have a quick video here that I want to play quickly. Actually, I don't know if I can get it to play. Bear with me. Sorry, I think we'll have to skip this. It's unfortunate. It's a great video that shows employer branding from one of our clients in New Zealand. It is the police controller ad or police operator ad where they've brought that role to life and they've brought the employer branding about those roles to the front before people are seeking the job. They're seeing this across their media streams, and it is really powerful. And I did want to show it because it's a really great example of what you can do with employer branding to stand out. So, is Google for Jobs a good thing? I think it's pretty obvious what my thoughts are on Google for Jobs. I'm going to put out there, yes it is, long overdue for our industry. Our industry has needed the standardization. We have needed to do this. Our candidates want a better experience. They don't want to have to search across multiple job boards. They want certain information available when they look for a job so they can compare them. And this is forcing us to do it. So there are benefits for both employers and there are absolute benefits for job seekers. Employers have an opportunity to be on the Google for Jobs feature. It equals the playing field. Employers benefit from quality conversion rates. Candidates can find their jobs and refine their search. You are getting more chance of being found because the search occurs in one place. And then on the other side, for job seekers, consistency, direct access, and a much faster, easier process for them. Google for Jobs brings high conversion rates. Google for Jobs brings a job search experience for candidates that is vastly improved. For now, Google for Jobs is currently free. So that brings me to the end of the presentation. I want to thank everyone for attending today, and I'm just going to start having a look through the questions that have come through.
Kaz, given that we have quite a few questions, we have noted them down. Thank you all for the participation. What we will do is we will absolutely send across the recording in a couple of days, but also we will reach out to the individuals who have asked the questions and make sure that we answer them one-on-one as well. It was a great session, and I'm not surprised that we came a little bit above the hour. So thank you everyone for your patience, and thank you, Kaz, for an amazingly informative session.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.